There are a massive amount of great things to do and see in God of War Ragnarok, once it actually gets going. This is an approximation of my emotional state and engagement during my initial playthrough of the game. Epic cinematic storytelling in video games can be a double-edged sword. When it works, it's amazing. When it's super stretched out or not paced well, welcome to completion number 30 of the Potato Backlog project. I complete games from my 431 game backlog, allowing myself $5 per completion to go towards the purchase of new and used video games. It's the only way I can buy new games. I also make a video after each completion, so if you like this one, go check them out. Stick around to the end of the video for the prophesized by the fates Tater Raider. Now let's talk about God of War Ragnarok, the epic sequel to 2018's God of War, and a release that kind of marked the end of the PlayStation 4 era as a whole. Ragnarok completes the Norse mythology storyline of Kratos and his son Atreus, which began in the 2018 offering. Ragnarok is the definition of a modern single-player AAA game, driven by high-quality cinematic storytelling, top-notch voice acting and motion capture, gorgeously detailed graphics, and an overall polish on everything that is just rare to see these days. The amount of content packed in and the overall experience to be had here will make any gamer happy, from the extreme completionists to the super casual players. I only had a couple issues with this game that I feel are worth talking about, and I wanted to front load them in the video so I can gush about all the things I really liked after that. The story pacing overall, as spoiler free as I can. Ragnarok is a slow burn off the start, like really slow. Out of curiosity, I timed myself after I finished the game with the New Game Plus start, just to see how long it took before you actually get in to fight some bad guys. With skipping cutscenes, it was a full 10 minutes before you fight the first bad guy in the woods. And then another 10 minutes goes by on top of that before you're even paired up with Atreus. That's with skipping the cinematics. Lots of the exposition in this game is done while you're walking. At times it even slows you down so it can fit it all in, not even giving you the choice to skip it. And this is one of the core issues built in that slows down the game and the pacing as a whole. The amount of time you're essentially doing nothing in this game is very noticeable to me. It's a fine line to walk with the style of game they have created, the giant cinematic storytelling style game. The Last of Us does a little bit of a better job with the pacing that style of story, but falls short in the actual gameplay portion. Whereas Ragnarok has really fun gameplay, but could have been paced out a little bit better. Now this isn't me saying that the story itself is bad, far from it. What happens in the story is great, it's entertaining, I enjoyed it. It's when the things happen and how long it takes them to happen, and what the game has you doing in between those things happening that I take issue with. You do a lot of traveling in this game while characters talk, and if paced well with other things happening, like puzzles, bosses, fighting bad guys, discoveries, the narrative actually pushing forward, then this style of game can be great. It can feel great and be fun. But as it stands, the first 10 to 14 hours of this experience are pretty slow and dry. In contrast, as you approach the end of the game, everything speeds up, and it rushes you through the last story beats and sequences at a breakneck pace not seen at any other point in the game. Depending on the difficulty you choose and how much side questing and exploring you choose to do, the main story of Ragnarok is about 22 to 30 hours to complete. I finished in about 28 myself, but I had a bunch of quests to finish off and collectibles to find after. Even though a couple areas are locked off after you complete the main story, those areas don't have any collectibles in them to miss. There are also no missable missions or side quests within the game. You could safely complete the main story and still finish all that other stuff after without missing anything. I wish I would have known this beforehand, as I would have concentrated more on the main story with my playthrough. I don't like exploring and finding areas I can't get to just because I don't have a main ability that I'll unlock later in the game. I prefer to have all the tools and solve a puzzle or search for something that can unlock the way forward. Wasting 30 minutes looking for something only to find I don't have the ability to access it yet isn't my idea of fun. So for me, I feel like they could have condensed the main story down a little bit, 15-ish hours for all the main story beats, and they could have done this without losing or cutting any of the story that's already there. Cut out the amount of times the game purposely makes you walk slow, or the times it takes away all control just to push exposition outside of the cinematic scenes. I love the banter, the talking, and all the dialogue tidbits. I'm not saying get rid of that stuff, but let me play the game while it's happening. Let us get to the post game where we have everything and the game plays at its best and to its fullest potential. If there are important things that happen or important information that I need, put it within the cinematics, build the tension properly, and pay it off in better ways. The freedom I felt after the main story was done was great. Exploring more, finishing side quests, unlocking the rest of to my weapon skill trees, finding hidden secrets and more side bosses. All the post-game stuff is just really fun and great. I do wish there was some type of boss rush mode post-game so I could fight any boss without having to play through the whole story again. If there isn't, I missed it somehow, please let me know in the comments below, but I don't see it there. Pacing issues aside, as I said earlier, I did enjoy the story. It's a satisfying conclusion to what started in the 2018 game, and it leaves some room for the future. Though the developers have said this is the end, you never say never with these types of things. There were some great emotional moments that did hit really well, and when things were running on all cylinders, this game had me, and it had me fully. The core battle system and control is very similar to the 2018 God of War. You're camera locked behind Kratos and fight from that view. In Ragnarok, you get your trusty blades back right off the bat, which made me extremely happy. And your handy dandy axe is back along for the ride as well. There are no shortage of things to upgrade for your characters in this game. Slotting runes to your weapons, upgrading a magical amulet, relic abilities, skill mod tokens within your skill tree abilities themselves. So essentially you unlock abilities and then you can also upgrade them. There are different armors and mods to mess around with that focus on different strengths and abilities, and it's something I'm exploring now within my post-game playthrough. I want to see how deep the system actually is, and if making different build types can really make a difference at higher difficulty levels. Crafting here is a little bit more surface level than anything. It almost works as just a way to unlock new items. You can sell items and buy them back, so you never have to worry about losing access to anything you may have come across within the game. I really had fun mixing and matching weapon abilities while fighting in this game. I felt like I was able to be much more creative during battle in this game compared to the previous. Even though the camera is still locked behind Kratos, I felt like I had a lot more freedom to do and try new things and fight in different ways. Looking for cool combinations and fun stylish ways to fight was just really enjoyable. While not an extremely different fighting system at its core, they added enough stuff here for me to actually like it. And I had a ton of fun with it and exploring it versus the 2018 God of War. Though I was still left daydreaming at times about what it would be like for that camera to pull out in certain areas so you could see everything, and fighting like 20 to 30 bad guys all at once from all different angles. But I understand what they were going for here, and in the end, it's a fun experience. I liked Ragnarok a lot more than its predecessor, and I had to think for a while on exactly why that was. I think it's because I knew what to expect coming into the game. I played the 2018 God of War fresh on the heels of playing every other God of War game. I had an expectation in my head of what a God of War game was and what it should be. The reimagined reboot of the gameplay style was just jarring to me with the 2018 God of War, and I think I allowed it to sour my overall experience at the time. I liked the story of the 2018 God of War, but I didn't really enjoy playing the video game, and I didn't feel compelled at all to do any of the post-game stuff or even think about a second playthrough. Coming into Ragnarok, I knew what to expect. I knew I would be locked behind Kratos. I knew how the core gameplay would work, and I guess it allowed me to open up to it a little bit more and try experiment more with the weapons, the skills, and the mods to try and push the experience that it was trying to give me a lot further than I did in the first. And it helped me have a much better time and enjoy much more of what the game had to offer. 5 happy potato faces out of 5. There is no denying this is a great video game, a modern day classic. While this might not be a game you replay right away due to some of the pacing issues, this is the kind of game I could see myself replaying every year or two, or picking up every now and then and playing the post-game content. With just a plethora of things to do and go through, and just the overall experience of something this big and this grand, it's just something that should be experienced by all gamers. I highly recommend you give it a go if you get the chance, and even if you haven't played the 2018 game, there is an option to watch a recap of that story to get you up to speed before you jump into Ragnarok. Ragnarok is currently available on PlayStation 4 and 5, and one day I do believe it will be available on PC, as they did release the 2018 game on PC. We just don't know when. With that, the Backlog project rolls on. Thank you for watching. Be kind to yourselves and others that deserve it. We're on to the next one. $5 per completion to go to the user to the news. Billy and the news. You could safely complete the main story and finish off all that. Finish off? Some type of new country. Finish off. Oh my god. So goofy.